Hey everyone, it's Melinda with Teal, and I am a part-time online reseller on Poshmark, Mercari, eBay, and Facebook Marketplace. In today's video, I want to show you exactly how I inspect my items when I'm in the thrift store before purchasing them to resell online. Now this is in no particular order of importance, it's just kind of what I have laying around right now. We're going to go over purses. So you'll probably remember this purse in a recent haul that I did. So when I first see a purse, I obviously check for the outside to see if there are any issues. I look front to back. I also look underneath because the bottom of purses and the sides on the seams get a lot of wear. So I will check on the corners. I will check to make sure that the hardware is not tearing away from the purse itself and that there's no cracks in the handle. And then of course, don't forget the inside lining. I always make sure I look at the lining. I look in all the pockets. I will even take the lining out and flip it around to make sure that, number one, if there are stains, then I can photograph it easy, but this just makes it so much easier for you to identify if there are issues. And then the last thing I check for is to make sure all of the closing hardware works. Zippers zip, buttons button, magnetic is still magnetic. And this is pretty much the same for wallets as well. Next up, we're gonna go over shoes. These are a pair of Jessica Simpson heels that I am not selling because they have a good amount of damage to them, but I did want to show you how I inspect my shoes. So the first thing, obviously I'm going to look at the brand, and then after that I'm going to look at the inside to make sure that it's clean, if there's like any gunk or anything, and yes, if there are sneakers, I will look inside. I also smell them, and I know that's kind of gross, but if it smells, I have no interest in trying to fix that. So I will smell the shoe. I do look on the inside lining, like here you can see that this one is totally chipping away. That is one of the reasons why I'm not selling them. So you do want to look for wear inside there. And then obviously the bottom, you want to check the heel, make sure that's intact. And then especially for shoes like this, you kind of want to like twist where it comes together to make sure that it doesn't fall apart. And then also if you have like comfort shoes, I know Danskos are notorious for this as well, but you want to do the bend test or the twist test to see if that rubber sole has deteriorated or there's something else wrong with it. And then lastly, you want to make sure that there's a size. There's a size right here. There's usually a size on the inside lining and here. Measuring a shoe, if you are not near what the shoe size is kind of hard. Also, just going over my notes, for sneakers, I make sure that the shoelaces aren't frayed, and if there are any zippers, make sure that the zippers work, make sure that the buckles are intact, and if there's any elastic near the buckle, make sure that that's not completely shot. And then there are two important places that I check for damage is the toe line here. You can actually see, maybe you can't see, but there is some lifting of the cork right here, so I will check for damage there. And then people have a tendency to scrape their inside heels or inside the shoe together when they walk. So like, especially on patent leather, you'll see scrapes and scuffing here on the inside. So I always make sure to check for that on the inside of the shoe. Next, we're going to go over tops and shirts. So this is sweatshirts, sweaters, tank tops, anything, you name it. Obviously, the first thing I'm going to do is check for stains. I check for stains on the front. I check for stains on the back. I check for stains on the sleeves. I also check for stains here and on the inside because a lot of people will either wipe their mouth on their sleeve or, dip their sleeve into their food. I will also look around the neckline for discoloration or makeup or self-tanning is a good one. I do smell the armpits. I know it's a gross thing, but I have brought home shirts that I forgot to smell, and of course they had body odor and it was just disgusting, and I ended up having to donate them. So sometimes it's very hard to get it out if it's set in. And then if I have the time or if I'm really unsure if I want to purchase the item, I will actually flip it because a lot of people's deodorants will leave markings on the inside armpit. So I will check the armpit here. And then you want to check for any stains on the inside too, because sometimes you may not be able to see a stain on the outside, but it'll come through on the lining. And that's a good indication that there might be a stain that you can't see by the naked eye, but you can see through your ring light. I've had that happen plenty of times. Another thing, of course, if you have a shirt with buttons or zippers, make sure that those things are working and that they are all intact. Next up, we have pants. So these are jeans, pants, shorts are even included in this. Number one, obviously, I check for stains and discoloration. So I will check all the way down the legs on both sides. Next, I want to check the inside crotch and the inside inner thigh area to make sure that there's not a significant amount of wear. I do make sure that all of the hardware is working, so the zipper goes up and down, that there's an actual buttons, that all of the rivets are here, that there's no holes in the pockets. Then I will check the belt loops to make sure that there are no holes or that they're not tearing away from the jean itself. And then also I will check corners of the pockets to make sure that there's no holes there too, because pockets have a tendency to get caught on things, and that can definitely make holes very easily in jean pocket areas. And then I want to check the bottom hem to make sure that there's no fraying or that someone hasn't stepped on it. And then I'm also going to check the inside band to make sure that there's no discoloration, again, self-tanning, whatever. And then you may be surprised by this one, but I am actually gonna look at the inside crotch area. I've had a lot of staining in here. I've had holes that weren't visible from the outside that I found later on. So always make sure to check the inside. Another thing to look for is if it has an elastic waist, you wanna make sure that it is actually still elastic and that there's no cracking to it when you pull it, or if it's completely shot. That's one thing to look out for. And then the last thing specifically in jeans is the puckering right around this area. Because most jeans are made with spandex now, that spandex will wear out over time. So if people wear their jeans a lot and maybe it's too tight, they'll kind of stretch it out and you'll have puckering left in this area. So make sure to look for that. Another thing I wanted to mention about inspecting pants and shorts, you can also include skirts in that as well. The only additional thing that you need to check for skirts is that the inside lining is not torn or stained or anything like that. Okay, so now we're gonna go over dresses. Kind of the same as pants and shirts, just combined together. So obviously the first thing I always do is I check the front for stains. I check the back for stains. The next thing I'm going to do is look for deodorant marks on the outside and also flip it inside out so that I can see if there's any deodorant markings in there too. Again, I look at the neckline, the inside to make sure that there's no self-tanner marks or makeup. This particular dress has a built-in bra, so this also goes with like sports bras. You always want to check the band for discoloration, for gross marks, anything, make sure it still stretches. That's something to look out for. And then if there is an inside lining, you always want to look inside again to make sure that there's nothing torn or that there's no staining or just general ickiness. So that is the conclusion of this video of how I inspect my items before I leave the thrift store so that I can go home and resell them online. One piece of advice, if you do get home and you find a stain that you missed, or maybe you just literally couldn't see it under the lights, we know that thrift store lighting is completely different than natural sunlight and also our ring lights. If you're not able to take that piece of garment back, definitely stain treat it if you can, but if not, just list it as is. Make a note in the listing of the issue. People buy flawed things all the time. I think I sold 3 or 4 things this past week that all had small little flaws that were either missed or came to me that way or something or other. People still buy flawed items. So do not be scared of picking up something that you may or may not be able to get the staining out or you just missed at the thrift store. Thank you so much for watching this video. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And if you aren't a subscriber yet, we would love to have you here. I put out videos at least once a week, so please consider subscribing. And as always, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.